So this coming Sunday, we have Elimination Chamber, which is the last pay-per-view stop on the road to WrestleMania. So I'm hoping this Elimination Chamber will give us some idea as to what some of the bigger matches on WrestleMania will be, and will set the stone for some of the matches that we're going to be getting at WrestleMania, allowing those 6 weeks of build going to WrestleMania to be focused purely, on building WrestleMania to be one of the biggest WrestleManias, hopefully, in quite some time, with it being WrestleMania 30. So I think the whole point of Elimination Chamber really should be to focus on storyline advancement and angle advancement, getting from Elimination Chamber and setting the stone for WrestleMania. And hopefully this show will do that. I mean, of course, we have the Elimination Chamber, which will determine who's going to be the champion to face Batista going into WrestleMania. But it'd be interesting to see if WWE do anything with the Wyatt family and John Cena, and maybe something to do with Daniel Bryan and the Authority, to see what they do there. That'll be interesting. I'm not going to be talking that much about SmackDown in this review. I just thought SmackDown was very uneventful, and I think I'd rather focus my time on, focusing more on a pay-per-view, even though I'm not too sure if I'm actually going to be watching Elimination Chamber just yet. So if you have any thoughts on this SmackDown or Elimination Chamber, please put them down in the comment section below, as per usual. So the Rhodes Brothers are going to be on the pre-show facing Ryback. Now, I'm glad that the Rhodes Brothers have got some kind of spot on the pay-per-view, even if it is on the pre-show. It's a damn shame that after their title run, they're kind of sort of getting de-pushed a little bit. So it's at least nice in some sense that at least they're on the pre-show, at least they're having some kind of part at Elimination Chamber, even if it's not on the main show. Now, on this week's SmackDown, they lost with Rey Mysterio to the Wyatt family, which was the right thing to do, really, if you consider the spots that both those teams are in right now. But I imagine the Rhodes Brothers will get a win here, and hell, you never know. This may go somewhere as to set up something between Cody Rhodes and Goldust at WrestleMania. Maybe Ryback will win here, and the Rhodes Brothers will, not get along or something. I don't know. Maybe that's the case going forward, because I think a lot of people would like to see a Cody Rhodes versus Goldust match, especially as Cody Rhodes is 28 years old and he's got a damn good future ahead of him. We need to give him big wins at WrestleMania. Like I said earlier, hopefully this show will be setting up the catalyst for some of the matches to happen at WrestleMania. Looks like we're also going to be getting Titus O'Neil versus Darren Young, on the show, which is a damn good thing in my opinion. I'm glad to see WWE giving Titus a shot in the, on a main pay-per-view card as a singles guy, as I do think this guy does have potential as some sort of singles guy. I must admit, this match to me feels like more something that would be put on the pre-show, but I'm glad to see him on the main card. And, I think Titus O'Neil really, as he is the new, heel character, I do believe that this guy needs to go over in this match. You never know what WWE will do, because they had him lose to Dolph Ziggler. Now, I understand that you had Darren Young on commentary distracting him, but did you really have to have Titus O'Neil lose to Dolph Ziggler? I imagine a lot of internet fans will be, oh, Dolph Ziggler got the win, but come on. Titus O'Neil is the one getting a push right now. I believe Titus O'Neil really should be getting him in, especially as you've only just turned him heel. You just need to establish this damn character. So let's not have him lose matches just quite yet. Hopefully Titus O'Neil will win at Elimination Chamber against Darren Young. As for him being at WrestleMania, I just see him winning here and then him fading off. I really don't see any match for him at WrestleMania at all, unless he goes up against Big E Langston or something. Big E Langston will be defending his Intercontinental Championship against Jack Swagger at Elimination Chamber. I guess you could say at least they went through the effort of putting an IC title match on the card and pre-announcing it, even though it was done via a random-ass fatal four-way for the #1 contendership last week on SmackDown, which Jack Swagger won. I think at the end of the day, although they have gone through the effort of putting an IC title match on the card, you just can't help but think, this was done so last minute and was booked so, easily without much thought. We just know this is going to be a filler IC title match, which is going to be going to Big E Langston. And Big E Langston will and should win this match, definitely. And hopefully they have bigger plans for Big E Langston at WrestleMania. Hopefully against Mark Henry, but we'll see what happens there. So at Elimination Chamber, we're finally going to see the Usos get their shot at the New Age Outlaws, as they've been proving in the build that they can actually beat the New Age Outlaws, and that's exactly how they've been booked. They've been booked incredibly strong going into this match. I mean, you had Jimmy Uso defeat the Road Dogg 100% clean on SmackDown, which in my opinion was necessary, especially if you're going to be setting them up to possibly win those tag team championships, which could either happen at Elimination Chamber or, when I feel it should happen, at WrestleMania, because I believe it will be a bigger moment if they win it at WrestleMania. Also, if you're going to do this at WrestleMania, I think the New Age Outlaws going in as champions would, be good for business, in my opinion, a more recognizable tag team. And then if they drop the belts to the Usos at WrestleMania, it can make them into a big tag team. I'm not really sure what's going to happen here, because part of me thinks that the Usos are going to win and perhaps face the Rhodes Brothers and the New Age Outlaws at WrestleMania, but part of me also thinks that the New Age Outlaws may win, which may allow the Rhodes Brothers to nip in at WrestleMania 30 and for it to be some kind of three-way tag team title match on the pre-show or something. I imagine that would be best for business if you had Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, the New Age Outlaws, hold the tag titles going into WrestleMania. I'd rather see the Usos win the tag team championships at WrestleMania on a bigger stage, but this should be a good match. I think we've seen the New Age Outlaws can still kind of go in the ring, and the Usos, we all know they can go in the ring as well. So hopefully this will be a good match, and the result won't really matter too much, but I would rather see the Usos win the belts at WrestleMania than I would Elimination Chamber, which is essentially a filler show. So we have Batista versus Alberto Del Rio. Now, I think it's very obvious here that Del Rio is Batista's jobber bitch on the way to WrestleMania 30 and main eventing that show. I mean, he has got a full schedule right now, apparently, Batista. He's back in a full schedule for 2 years, so you had to have him do something. You had to have him do something in the filler region to get him from Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, because while he's won the Royal Rumble, the person he's supposed to be feuding with right now is Randy Orton, and what they're going to do, put him in the chamber? No, because he's already got a title shot. So, in that sense, I guess this could be a good win for Batista in order to sort of set him up and, get him ready for WrestleMania 30 with regards to wrestling. Because when you've been away from wrestling for 4 years, much like The Rock shows, it's very hard to get back into the swing of things. So let's hope here that we see a decent performance from Batista and that he improves in the ring, after he's been away for 4 years. Improves the ring rust, I should say. It will also be interesting to see how the crowd reacts to Batista. Will the crowd boo him like they did at Royal Rumble, or is all that kind of fizzled off and they'll give him a babyface reaction? I think we all know that Del Rio will probably get zero reaction. But you never know. Maybe if WWE Universe boos Batista, they might start cheering Del Rio, and that'd be the best fucking reaction he's ever had. We never fucking know. Maybe Batista is a heel magnet. Maybe we don't know. We'll see. I think if you pick one match on this show that most of the internet wrestling community want to see, it would be the Wyatt family versus The Shield. And who can blame them? The Wyatt family have been built up to be quite a dominant faction tag team, since they've been introduced, in the summer. And The Shield at one point were the most dominant tag team or faction in the WWE. So to see these two factions go at it, even though they're both heels, will be quite interesting. And, I don't think WWE really have to worry about the crowd either, because whenever the Wyatt family or The Shield come out, even though they're heel factions, they're both kind of over. Not in a heel way, but in a kind of like, we like this faction way, we're going to cheer them. So it'll be interesting to see how the crowd reacts to this and whose side they're on here. And that should be interesting in itself. That segment they had on Raw, where they both kind of went to grips, and then in the main event segment, they went to grips again, and you could really feel the electricity in that segment. And when they eventually touched, which they've been building to for quite some time, it was electric. And I think that segment really did a damn good job. The main event segment did a really good job of at least setting up the Wyatt family versus The Shield to be some kind of really big match on the show. And you had all the other Elimination Chamber participants in there as well, which helped that match too. But if you pick one match on this show, which I think most people will be interested in, it'll be Wyatt family versus The Shield. And my guess would be the Wyatt family will go over here and they'll have some kind of way of maybe, getting Roman Reigns away from The Shield or something, ready for giving him his big baby face turn at WrestleMania, perhaps. I think that's how this match will go down. Give the Wyatt family a victory while also continuing on Roman Reigns' storyline, going away from The Shield. The main event of Elimination Chamber will no doubt be the WWE World Heavyweight Championship Elimination Chamber match between Randy Orton, John Cena, Daniel Bryan, Antonio Cesaro, Christian, and Sheamus. And as we've seen, it's quite interesting that Orton has been losing quite a lot lately. I mean, I believe he's beaten Christian. I think that's the only person during this whole gauntlet thing that he's actually beaten. So going in that because Orton's been losing a lot, that he's definitely going to win. Because it's classic heel booking 101. You make it seem like Orton has every chance of losing, but he will come out of it, in a cheap way or something, and that will get him heat. So Orton is going to win this, and it's going to be Orton versus Batista at WrestleMania. I think we know that going in. But the fact that this is an Elimination Chamber match involving people like Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, Christian, Sheamus, Cena, all these guys can work in the ring. So it should be, hopefully, a really good main event, including the Elimination Chamber concept in there too. As for the participants in there, we got Orton, who's the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. He's been losing a lot recently. Cena, has been doing his thing. He's usually the face of the company. That's him. Daniel Bryan recently has been involved with the Authority, and he's had that injured arm thanks to Kane. He had that on SmackDown once again when he had to go through the gauntlet of the Real Americans, Cesaro and Jack Swagger. So there should be some kind of continuance there between Daniel Bryan and the Authority, as the Authority, Kane, has essentially injured his arm, which is going to hurt his chances of winning the World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE World Heavyweight Championship in this Elimination Chamber. So we know he's not going to win. Cesaro had a real breakout performance against John Cena on Raw, and he beaten Randy Orton. Even though he had a good match against John Cena, I really thought it would have been interesting if you had Cesaro beat Cena. I understand that Cesaro has been made better by this match and everything, and, against John Cena and stepped up his game, etc. But why not have Cesaro beat John Cena? It would make things a lot more interesting going into this match. Cesaro beaten Orton and John Cena, two guys who were pretty much facing off for this same title at the Royal Rumble and TLC. That would have made him more believable. That would have made this more interesting. As for Christian, I think we all know he's not going to be winning. He's not there to do... Even though his storyline going in was quite interesting because he turned heel or tweener or some kind on Raw and on SmackDown, by attacking Daniel Bryan before the match. And on SmackDown, he said he was desperate and that his window of opportunity was fading. We know he's not going to win. As for Sheamus, he faced Christian on this week's edition of SmackDown, and I believe he beat Christian 100% clean. Christian hasn't got many wins since he come back, God bless him. I don't think he's going to win either. And so I think, definitely, just going off logic, Randy Orton is definitely going to win this one. And hopefully from here, they'll launch off Bray Wyatt and Cena, and maybe Kane or Triple H versus Daniel Bryan. And hopefully, they'll have something for Cesaro to do at WrestleMania, and Christian and Sheamus. I imagine that will be some kind of feud. Who really knows? I guess we'll find out going into and after Elimination Chamber. But I believe there are 2 or 3 matches on this show which should be good. You've got the Elimination Chamber match, you've got the Wyatt family versus the Shield, which should be damn good, and the Usos versus the New Age Outlaws. That should be a good match in my opinion. So at least you have 2 matches there that are guaranteed to be good, and maybe 1 or 2 that, may surprise you. There's no Divas match on the card yet, and that may get added, and maybe Santino versus Fandango or something will be added as Emma and Summer Rae had some kind of dance-off, on SmackDown, which was nowhere near as interesting as their NXT segment, and I don't really want to get into that. But hopefully, Elimination Chamber, like I said, even if it's not a good show, which you never know it may be, should hopefully at least do its job of hyping up to WrestleMania and also maybe even hyping up to the launch of the WWE Network as well. But most importantly, getting some of these big matches ready for WrestleMania. Remember, we still got Brock Lesnar to come back. We still got Undertaker to come back. Hell, Hulk Hogan is going to be coming back on the 24th of February edition of Raw, which will be the opening, I believe, of the WWE Network. So after Elimination Chamber, it's going to be a big, big night for WWE and the network. And I believe the February 24th show will probably end up being a lot bigger and better than Elimination Chamber. I really think it will. But if you have any thoughts and comments going into Elimination Chamber or this next edition of Raw, which is where the WWE Network will be launched, please let me know down in the comment section below. But hopefully the WWE Network won't overbear on this too much, as you never know, it might be a good card.